Hello, everybody. My name is Josh Davis, and you're watching the ETA Files.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me this week on ETA Files. Our guest is the one and only Josh Davis. How you doing, buddy?
Doing great, my friend. How about yourself?
Not bad, not bad. It's been a bit. Man, I feel like I used to see you at least once a year. It's probably been a couple of years. You're just so busy down there in Texas, huh?
It has been a while. Yes, I am staying pretty busy down here in Texas. Absolutely.
All right, man. How you doing? Everything good?
Yes, sir. Everything's doing great. I'm actually glad that it's a weekend that I'm actually home for a change because here lately I've been just all over the place from different parts of Texas. Just returned from Sheffield, Alabama, for Sheffield Remembers, and that was a lot of fun. So I'm actually glad I'm able to be home this weekend to actually talk to you this time.
Yeah, I mean, we've been trying for a bit, so it's awesome. I mean, obviously, once in a while, it's nice to have a weekend off too, right?
Absolutely, once in a while, yes.
Yeah, I got you, man. Well, listen, buddy, the big thing that I always find fascinating about this show is just everybody's story. Everyone's got a different story. You said you're what, 30, 32 years old?
Yeah, 32 years old now. That's my age now.
Okay. How long have you been performing as Elvis?
Oh my gosh. I'm actually proud to say this. Hopefully that don't come across wrong being braggy, but I've actually can say now I've been at it 19 years now, going on 20 years in next year actually.
Very cool, man. Well, tell us your story. Everyone's got a unique story, and I find it mesmerizing how everybody got involved in this business one way, shape, or form. What's your story, Josh?
Oh my gosh. Well, my story it actually starts way back in the 90s actually, late 90s. Because I was born in 1993. And throughout my childhood, I was basically surrounded by music. It was long before Elvis even came into the picture, actually. My grandmother raised me up on Southern gospel music. If you're familiar with Southern gospel quartets, she got me listening to the Statesmen, which was a group that Hovey Lister and Jake Hess had way back when. Um, then she got me into a group that I don't know if you're familiar with this group or not, but they're known as Bill and Gloria Gaither and the Gaither Homecoming.
Oh, yeah. The Gaithers. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so I grew up watching them, the Gaither vocal band, Howard and Vestal Goodman. Vestal was my favorite out of all of them because she was one of those people where she could just look at you and sing that lyric, and if you weren't saved, you ran down to the altar. That's how good she was. I don't know if you know her or not, but she was known for carrying a handkerchief in between her two fingers. So,
Okay. All right.
but I grew up listening to every single one of those, and so I was mainly brought up on Southern gospel music. And then my grandfather, he was big into Ernest Tubb, Hank Snow, Johnny Cash, the Carter Sisters. What was that one group? I think it was called the Bellany Brothers, I think.
Okay.
He was into those because that was in his era.
Right.
Well, this is where Elvis comes into my story. You're actually going to be surprised on this next part. My grandfather was a cattleman for 70 years, actually. He actually worked in the dairy barn all the way up till his late 70s, actually. So he was around when it was just a horse and a cart back then. So we were at a sale barn, which is where cattle auctions take place. Just so for those of you watching, that's what it is. They sell horses, cattle, cows, basically that. And he always turned the radio to different stations. So if one station went out, he switched to another station. He happens to go on a station where the DJ says, all right, this is Elvis Presley live in concert singing Frank Sinatra's My Way.
Hmm.
And at that time, I was 7 years old at the time, so I didn't know who Elvis was. All of a sudden, here comes this powerful voice out of my grandpa's radio. And I look over and I said, Papa, who is that? He looked at me. He was driving. He looked over at me and he went, you don't know? I said, no. He went, well, that's Elvis Presley. I said, well, who's Elvis Presley? And he goes, well, he was the greatest entertainer of all time. he's also known for a lot of rhinestone suits. I went, really?
Hmm.
And then at that point, that's when the curiosity hit me. So I'm like, well, I got to find out more about this guy. So at 8 years old, I got the movie, which I know you and me have watched it. We still watch Elvis on Tour,
Oh yeah.
which is my all-time favorite. And the first scene comes on where he's backstage, and then the band starts going into his intro, and he goes on stage, and here's flashbulbs going off, and he's swinging the powder blue cape around because he comes out and it's tucked like this, and here I am watching it at 8 years old, and I'm going, wow, this guy is larger than life here. What in the world? And so that's when I started collecting every single movie. I still got a lot of those movies actually still. And so I started getting like Viva Las Vegas. What's the other one? Live a Little, Love a Little. Remember that one?
Oh yeah.
Girl Happy Speedway. Long story short, I started collecting every single Elvis movie. But I got to be honest, I got into more of the concert years. And another video I don't have it anymore. I wish I did, but it's called Elvis: The Lost Performances,
Yeah.
where it was different songs that were cut from That's the Way It Is and Elvis on Tour. I was like, wow, hmm. And so then a few months later, I was in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, and that's actually where a lot of my story is in that town. That's something you didn't know about me,
Right.
which we'll get into. Um, And so I was in Pigeon Forge, and at that time, Memories Theater was a very popular theater at the time, and it kind of still is. People still remember it even to this day. And I always went past that theater, but I've never gone into it.
All right.
Now at this point, I'm like 9 years old at this point, and so I go into the show, and I'll never forget the lineup that night, and I'm surprised I still remember it. It was the Judds, not the ones that y'all have in Legends now, but it was a couple of ladies named Wendy Harp and Kelly Knopf
Okay.
that were doing them at the time. Uh, there was a guy named Garrick Sessions that did Garth Brooks.
Yeah. I've worked with him.
Oh, you have? Okay,
Yeah.
nice. And then Betty Koopman was Dolly Parton because that's Dolly Parton's town, so she came out, did a great job. And I know you've worked with this guy before, Mark Hines, who was Kenny Rogers.
Yep.
Well, then it came time for the Elvis, and you've actually interviewed this guy previously on one of your shows. I actually watched it because he still influences me to this day. And the Elvis was Lou Vudo.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget how they did that show. They dimmed the lights. All of a sudden, these lights start flying around, and if you've been there, there's a gold curtain like the International Hotel
All right.
on the stage. It comes up, he walks out, and my eyes got about that big. I literally sat in my seat and I was like, "Whoa!" I'm like, I didn't realize how much people went for this until I saw it that night. And the thing that made me so intrigued with it is the fact that, and of course Lou mentioned this before, that when he did Suspicious Minds, they showed a video of Elvis doing Suspicious Minds. And it's like Lou said, if the video caught him just right, he and Elvis were doing the same movements in sync. I literally did not pay attention to what was going on the stage because I was watching the video screen. Like I literally watched the whole show like this. I was literally looking at the screen on either side of the stage. And I was like, wow. And of course, I have to be honest, as a kid at that time, I liked the attention he was getting for it. I got to be honest. And then when I walked out of the theater, I stood there and I looked back at the curtain. I went, I think I want to do that one day. And, but of course, at that time, I was just a little kid, and I always didn't have this long of a hair. I always had like a buzz cut at the time. And so I started watching Elvis. I started watching every movie. I practically collected almost every biopic made about him. and at that time, I didn't know that they even made movies where somebody was playing Elvis. I didn't even know that until I saw Elvis with Kurt Russell. If you remember that one with Dick Clark when he made that, and I was like, wow. Then I saw Elvis and Me, with Dale McKiff, and then I remember, I think it was, I don't remember what year this was. I want to say it was 2004, I believe, when they did the one with Jonathan Rhys Meyers playing him.
Oh yeah.
And I remember watching that one, and because that one was so different, because they literally went from the 50s to 68 and stopped there. Little did I know that he was also an accomplished actor his own self. So I watched that. Well, then fast and forward to my teens when I turned 14. We actually went to Branson, Missouri. We came there to Branson. And this is where you're going to be shocked at who drove the force forward for me to pay tribute to Elvis. It was at a place not far from you where you work at Legends. If you've been there, when you're driving down the main drag, whether you're coming from Branson or leaving Branson, you're going to pass Music City Center. And it was Tony Roy. It was Tony Roy's Elvis Experience.
Yep.
Look, of course, naturally, I was like, well, we got to see this. We got to see his show.
Yeah.
He comes out, and I just love how he did. He literally came out, and he put on, and if you remember Tony, he puts on quite a show.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he gives you something. He grabs your attention, and he still does. And I was like, and I got to meet him afterwards, and I told him, I said, yeah, I'm about to get into it myself. He says, okay, well, you go for that. Well, get this, Ryan. This was 2007. 4 months later, I get a phone call, and it was from a lady in Sulphur Springs. That's where I'm originally from, is Sulphur Springs, Texas. It's a little small town east of Dallas. And I got to know this lady. Now, for the record, she has the same name as another singer, but for the record, it's not actually her. But her name was Enola Gay Matthews. And not only was she a good musician in her own right, mainly into jazz and Route 66 and all that, she was a radio personality. She was a DJ. And because she knew me ever since I was knee high, so, and she was like, well, maybe one day you'll be doing a show for me as Elvis one day. And at that time, this is where I'm about to shock you. You're going to fall out of your chair, so you may want to grab a hold of your chair. But at that time, it's hard to believe this about me, but I was shy, actually. I know it's hard to believe, but I was shy at that point. I never would perform for anybody. I would literally go into my room and shut the door, pick up my guitar, and literally sing behind a closed door. I never, and it's true. I used to not ever talk.
I remember you being shy. I do.
How do you remember that? When was that?
Well, you've always, like, the more I know you over the years, you've opened up and you've just become, I think you're just more comfortable in your own skin. But yeah, I remember first meeting you and you're just kind of shy and quiet. But yeah, once you get you going and you feel comfortable, you're not shy. That's for sure.
Yeah, I'll talk your ear off if you get me started, honestly.
Yeah.
But yeah, even when I was little, I wouldn't say a word to nobody. I mean, this is how shy I was. I would literally, like, if I was in a restaurant, I would literally hold the menu up to my face like this and literally hide behind the menu. That's how bad in my shell I was. But I had to work through that. I had to learn that it's okay to talk.
Yeah.
I had to learn that it's okay to open up, which that's a whole nother story in itself. But so I go, at this point, I'm 14 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And I did have a jumpsuit, not what I have now with B&K now, but I got a chain suit from that was my first suit, was a chain. And
where'd you get it from?
I actually got it from a lady in Bristol, Tennessee, called Jumpsuits Fit for a King.
Okay.
I mean, she's not in business now, due to some health issues, but that's who was making suits at the time. She was making suits for guys like Nick Gutierrez, Alex Swindle, if you remember him.
Yeah.
There's a few guys that were getting stuff from her. So I bought a chain suit from her. And one day, I'm out, I'm actually out playing in the yard one day. And actually, I was talking to a friend of mine that was doing some yard work. And all of a sudden, my mom comes out and says, "Hey, there's a phone call for you from Enola Gay." I said, "Really?" So I went in there. I pick up the phone. I talk to her, and she says, "Josh, I think God is telling me that you're ready." And of course, I'm 14 years old. I might have looked like, if you would have been a bug on the wall, I might have looked like I was in control, but inside I was scared to death because I never sung in public before.
Yeah.
So I'm like literally clenching. I literally have a death grip on the phone. I'm going, she says, "Look, I'm in a bind. I had an Elvis lined up, but he has backed out on me. I think you're ready. Do you think you want to do it?" And have you ever had that feeling that something is telling you inside, "I think this is it"?
Oh
Have you
yeah.
ever before when you was growing up?
Oh yeah.
I mean,
Not just
so
growing up. Yeah, even in adulthood, for sure.
exactly. Was I still hear it sometimes, even though I'm older. But anyway, I said and all of a sudden something told me, "I think it's time." I said, "Yes." And of course she got excited and I got excited. When I hung up the phone, I was scared to death. I was like, "Oh my gosh, what am I gonna?" If you know what I mean, when you
Yeah.
have your show, you're like, "What am I gonna sing? What am I gonna wear? What am I gonna do?" And at that time, I got to be honest, I didn't have tracks. I didn't have a PA system, and everything. All I had was this little guitar. I just had this little student Martin guitar. And I'm like, well, and I already knew some chords, but not like I do now. And and so the day comes, and it was actually on August 16th, 2007, on the anniversary date that Elvis died, and that was my debut. And it was at a steakhouse that was in Silver Springs at the time, called K Bob's. So I get there, and and excuse me for saying this, but I'm nervous enough to thread a sewing machine running. I mean, I literally, I'm shaking like a leaf. I'm literally like this, trying to control it, but
Yeah.
when you go into your first show, you can't help but be scared to death.
Yeah.
And so many things are going through your mind, and I was going, "Oh Lord, what if I forget the words? What if I accidentally miss this chord on the guitar?" So the music starts. I walk out there. Here I am in this chain suit with this little Martin guitar with the craziest hair on the face of the earth. Because at that time, I didn't know you had to style your hair. I just dropped my hair down and let it hang. And I had these little bitty sideburns that were really just my hair grew out long. And so here I come. And I knew at that point, the minute I walked in there, if you know what I mean, all eyes were on me. People were watching me.
Right.
I'm going, holy heck, what am I going to do? I hope I don't say the wrong thing.
Right.
And now get this, I'm still, in a way, I kind of came out of my shell a little bit, but I wasn't fully open yet. I was still kind of in that shyness. So, so Enola, who's standing next to me with the microphone pointed at my guitar, she's like, "Tell him your name." I did. I'm like, here's Elvis's first hit. So long story short, the three songs I played that night on my guitar was "That's All Right, Mama," "Welcome to My World," and I ended with "Heartbreak Hotel." And when the audience clapped, and that's when I was like, "Okay, I think I can do this." And at that point, that's when words started getting around. Hey, there's there's this Elvis in town, and I started working immediately at
Yeah.
14 years old after that.
That's awesome, man. That's a good story, dude. That's a good story. Let me ask you a couple questions about your upbringing.
Please.
Your grandpa was a ranch kind of guy, cattle guy. Uh,
Mhm.
does that run in your family? Did you grow up like on a farm doing stuff like that? That kind of work? Anything like that at all?
I did actually. Yeah, that did run in our family. Because my grandpa, he had. I'll put it this way: he had me driving a tractor at 10 years old.
Yeah.
And but yeah, I grew up with with getting hay to the cows, feeding them. I grew up standing by his side, watching him milk them, and that's when it had gone to electronics, on how they would do that. But yes, I grew up with around that.
Yeah, that's a good upbringing, right? Looking back.
Yes, absolutely. And even now, I got to be honest. This is something that's going to shock you about my grandpa. He was in cattle for 70 years, but get this: he did not eat meat and he did not drink milk.
How about that?
He didn't, and that man worked around cattle for 70 years.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Yeah. Was he doing the ranching like out there on the horse and rounding them up and splitting them and, all that, dividing them out and all that stuff?
yes, sir, he was. I mean, he was pulling a plow. He was literally behind the horse with the plow. He
Wow.
even where he even did where they would like if they had to get juice out of something. I'm not sure what it's called. Forgive me because it's been so long. But he did. He literally was there where the horse would go around and would make the machine move
Like a
and
press.
yeah, and press and all that. He even said he even knew how to run a baler from just a horse, and he did all that. He really did all that.
So he's a real country hand.
He was. He really was.
That's cool. Do you feel like you could get out there today and do some of that?
Well, in a way I could, but somebody would have to refresh my memory on how these tractors work nowadays. Because the tractor I learned to drive was Massey Ferguson, which is a huge brand in tractors, to where you just started it up and you would literally put it in gear and then ease off the clutch. So, but I never did learn how to drive the cab over tractor. So if I did do that nowadays, somebody would have to kind of reteach me a little bit, but you'd be surprised what I operate now, which we'll get into later. So,
All right. All right. We'll get into that. So here you are, 14 years old, out the gate, no tracks, singing with a guitar. Not a lot of people could do that at 14, man.
I was actually I took lessons on guitar till I was about maybe 12, and then after that I was self-taught to where I would you see the way that I do it, I'm actually a fast learner. Not bragging on myself, but I can actually you could show me a song. Like let's just say, if it's okay, I'm gonna use you as an example. Like if you say, "Hey Josh, can you play my song Wash Over Me?" I'll be like, "Give me 2 seconds," and then boom, I can play your song word for word.
Wow.
And
Wow.
so I started learning more of that, and yeah, and then it wasn't until later on that year, 2007, when a gentleman, he wasn't an Elvis, but he was a bass player for years, and he also dealt in scrap metal by the name of Roger Reed. I met him on the night I debuted, and he said, "Hey, we need to get you some backing tracks because you can't just play guitar with Elvis for the rest of your life. Even though Elvis did, we need to get you some tracks." And out of the goodness of his heart, Ryan, he literally went, duplicated Elvis backing tracks, and he showed up at my house with the briefcase and said, "Here you are."
Wow.
And I
Wow.
started doing it more with tracks. So
What a gift, man. That's awesome. That's awesome. Was he connected somehow with karaoke or something back then? Or yeah.
yeah,
So so he helped you out. That's awesome, man. Good old scrap metal guy helping you out.
yeah.
Um, this first appearance at 14 when you sang the three songs with the guitar, did you wear your chain jumpsuit?
Yes, sir. Well, that was the only suit I had at the time was the chain. So yes, sir, I did wear it.
Had you going through your career? I think I've only seen you in jumpsuit. Did you ever meddle with the '50s stuff, the movie stuff, anything like that, or has it just always been concert?
Well, that's another part of my story that I've been wanting to tell you. Um, Most of the time in my teens, I it was basically the concert years, but I knew inside here that there was more to Elvis than just rhinestones and the jumpsuit era.
Sure.
So it was actually when I was 15 years old is when I started expanding more into the younger era. I remember, and I'm surprised I still remember this. I got booked on a Halloween party one time, out at a guy's lake house. And he said, I want you to do two sets. I said, well, and at that point, I've been experimenting with the 50s at
Right.
that point.
Right.
And I had this little white dinner jacket that I got at a store in Dallas one time. And it just sat in the closet gathering dust. And I'm like, well, let's give this a shot. Let's see if I can do it. And so my first set was literally the younger Elvis, was literally in the 1950s. I did Shake, Rattle, and Roll. I did Blue Suede Shoes. I did That's All Right. And then I came out, and at that point, I had more suits at that point. Matter of fact, my first four jumpsuits were the Chain, the Owl, the Matador, if you remember that one, the black, it's a black version of the Red Lion suit,
Yep.
and the Comet, the O'Donnell suit. So at that point, I had more suits, and I was like, yeah, I like this. Because then I realized that people enjoy that. They love to see a costume change where they like to see one era of Elvis and then they like to come out and see another era. And then after that run, it wasn't till later on 2018 when I was 15, I started getting into the movies. And that's when I got my first Speedway jacket.
Oh yeah.
And then I started experimenting with the black leather. I know
Mhm.
it's hard to think that here I was a teenager and I was already wanting to go to 68 comeback, but I loved that. Honestly, the two eras that I do the most is the jumpsuit and the 68 comeback. And the reason why I love the 68 so much is the fact that Elvis finally got to, in my opinion, Elvis finally got to prove to people who he really was, if that makes sense, if you know what I mean. Because he had made movies all through the 60s.
Yeah.
You know, we all know he hated. He could not stand him. You know, and then so when he got out of that contract, and when I watched it, seeing him walk on and in the leather suit, and I was like, wow. And I'm like, if I ever do the black leather, this is what I want to do. I want to do what he's doing. So, and when I first put it on, this is going to sound funny. I literally felt like a rebel without a cause. I don't know what it is, but every time you put on that leather, you feel like you can, I don't know, you feel tough. You feel like you can conquer anything when you put that thing on. I don't know what it does for you when you do it at Legends, but
Oh, dude, I love the leather.
you and me
I
both.
Yeah, there is something about it, and obviously with the jumpsuits too. But the leather is just there's something really cool about it. Kind of rebellious, like you said, like you're a rebel. And but man, I've always loved the leather. Probably my favorite is the leather. But yeah, there's something about it. I don't know what it is, but I'll take it.
Yeah, hey, I'm the same. I'm the same way, And actually, I'm hopefully I don't know. Hopefully, this may surprise you too. But when I started out, you were still in Legends at Myrtle Beach at that time. When I started out,
Yep.
you were still, and this is going to sound shocking. You were at Myrtle Beach. Dean Z had just started at Branson at that
Mhm.
point. James Lowry was in Atlantic City,
Yep.
and Matt Lewis took your place at the one in Vegas at that point.
Yep.
I don't know if that's accurate or not, but if I think correctly, you started your second Legends was Vegas, right? Because that's when John Stewart moved you out there, right?
Well, I was there early on and then some afterwards. Yeah, just kind of back and forth. But Myrtle Beach was the main big stay. and then went away from Legends for a number of years, and but obviously came back to Branson. So yeah, but I was out in Vegas for a bit. Yeah.
Wow. But yeah, at that point, and actually, I've been saving this because the first time I actually saw the different eras was actually you.
Hmm.
I don't know if it's still out there or not, but there was a video that somebody did of you at a theater where it was like it showed where the curtains were shut, then they open up, you come out, and it literally shows you in the different eras, even when you was throwing teddy bears from the balcony, because you did used to do that quite
Oh
a bit.
yeah, yeah. It's probably that was probably Milwaukee.
Yeah, that's it.
Potawatomi. Yeah, yeah. I used to. The band would play the song, and I would run all the way out the doors, up the stairs to the balcony, so I could throw the bears to the people up on top as well. Yeah, it was a fun time, man. I have to be in shape to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, that's when I. But yeah, it was. Yeah, I'm the same way when it comes to leather. I'll take it, and but I love the concert years. I mean, I just have to be honest. I am more into the '70s Elvis than I am. Don't get me wrong. I still do the other eras to keep them fresh because, if somebody hires you, you don't want them to think that you're tied to just one era.
All right.
So I still do them from time to time, but I just love the songs in the '70s. There's just something about it where honestly, it's kind of like what somebody said recently in a oh, I think it was the Netflix Two Kings of Tupelo, where Kevin Curtis says, once you put on that jumpsuit and you zip that up, it's like you're putting on a superhero suit. So
Yeah.
and everything too, but yeah.
Yeah, for sure, man, for sure. Now you mentioned something about what you are doing now.
Mhm.
Um, what is it that you're doing, and what equipment are you talking about?
Well, I'm a senate. Well, what I'm doing now, I mean, now for the record, I'm still doing my shows as
Yeah,
Elvis. Um,
yeah.
I stay busy with those all the time, by the grace of God. But when I'm not doing that, I'm actually a sanitation technician. Basically, I'm a janitor, but I actually get to run not only one but two, but I get to run about maybe 7 or 8 machines. To where I'm licensed by the company to I run a forklift, I run both pallet jacks, I run a scrubber, I run a sweeper, a high rise, and my all time favorite, a scissor lift.
Oh yeah, I like the scissor lift. Yeah,
You've
they're
been on,
fun. Oh yeah, because we have them at Legends, and every once in a while, you got to get something up high and all that. Yeah, the scissor lift, it's fun, man. You can't be afraid of heights.
nope, exactly. Even though my grandpa was, but thank God I did not inherit that from him. And everything. But yeah, that's really my all-time favorite machine to operate is the scissor lift because I don't know, I like being up high and being up there getting dust or getting a cobweb from up above or something.
Yeah,
And it also works too for the forklift drivers if they need a certain product. I'll be like, if I happen to be there, I'm like, oh well, here you go. Just reach up, hand it down to them. So.
yep. Is this for a particular company, or is this for a school? What is it?
Yes, sir. I work for Cisco Food Warehouse,
I
and
got you.
here in Longview, Texas. We actually have a location there in Missouri, so you might have seen our trucks go by a couple of times.
Oh yeah, Cisco's a big name, man.
That's what I work for, and and of course, it's honestly, it's the greatest job in the world, and I'm surrounded by some great coworkers and some great bosses, and of course, they call me Elvis in a good way, not in a joking, mocking type way, and they're very much for it, and they've even seen the show a couple of times. They've actually had me perform for them a couple of times when they've done some events there at the job site. One of them, they did an employee appreciation day, and my boss called me in his office. And sorry, I didn't mean to bump the camera there. So
You're fine.
okay, good. And he was like, "Hey, let's surprise them. They never seen you as Elvis."
That's
So they,
cool.
so I literally it's quite a long story, but yeah, I came out and I surprised them, and I couldn't help but chuckle because my coworkers they've only seen me out on the floor. They never actually seen me in costume. And as I walked out, they're all going,
Yeah,
"Huh?"
yeah. That's
So
cool, man. That's
that was
cool.
really
Are you like on a loading dock, or are you just like moving stuff around the warehouse? What are you doing?
Actually, I'm actually doing all kinds of stuff. I'm on a loading dock where I clean that. Like if there's a spill, which is pretty common. Once in a while there's going to be a spill.
Sure.
I do that. We also you can also find me on some of the aisles. To where like if I got to clean an aisle or something, I'm down there doing that, moving product out of the way so I could deep clean too. I'm also a lot of times you'll find me making bales too because we recycle the cardboard and the plastic.
Yeah.
And I love doing that too, getting to poke the strings through, and I get to wire them up and all that too.
Oh yeah.
And also a lot of times you'll find me switching out a propane tank in the scrubber or the sweeper because they're run by propane
Yep.
because it's for our safety. That's what those machines have to be run by. So a lot of times you'll see me yanking a tank out, putting it up, and putting it back in. So
Oh yeah. Man, I remember, and this is a long time ago. This is this is probably in the 90s. But I had a job. I actually drove an 18 wheeler for a bit.
I did
Um,
not know that.
yeah, man. And out of Lebanon, Ohio, there's a big Miller plant there, and I would haul 53-foot trailers, 80,000 pounds up to Chicago, New York, wherever, all over the place. That was over the road, just helping to pay the bills, early on in my life. And that was okay. But, I didn't like the boredom of just driving, although it is fun. It's different driving an 18 wheeler than it is a car, no doubt about it. And you can go, 1,000 miles or whatever before you have to fuel up. So that's awesome. But very interesting. I got a job. It was a local job at that point. So I would go in at like 3 a.m. Okay.
The time I go in my work.
Three. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I would go in at 3 a.m. Um, I was the only one there, I'd be the only one there. And there would be a bunch of trucks overnight that had come in and, parked. And they're right there at the loading dock.
Right.
And I would go through all the bills of lading and whatnot. And it was such an awesome thing because it was a puzzle. And I loved it because I was there by myself. And I'm just like, it was a big puzzle. So you'd have this entire dock, you'd have to unload the trucks, put it out on the dock, rearrange the bills of lading for the runs of all the guys that would come in and deliver the stuff, reload the trucks. And as they would come in, first truck out, next truck out. And I was on a time schedule too, because they would get in and they would want to go. And then the last truck, and it was the one that nobody wanted to do, but I loved it.
Oh wow.
It was a short 23-foot pup. That's what they call it, those short trailers. Um,
Yes.
and the tractor was just, it didn't have a berth, a sleeping berth or anything. So it's short, so you can really maneuver the thing. And I would do all the downtown deliveries in downtown Columbus, Ohio. Some of those weird docks, that you got to jackknife the thing to get to to get up to the door. And but I absolutely loved it, man. It was, I mean, it's hard work and whatnot, but man, I made it into a game, and I had so much fun doing that job. I didn't do it for long, but some of that work, man, is just, I don't know. It's kind of like you just feel good doing it, man.
Absolutely. Well, when I first came to Cisco, I started out on unloading, so I would do the same thing. I would unload them and then break them down, and put this many on this pallet, this many over here. So I did that before I went to sanitation, and I've just been sanitation since because I have to be honest. I love to clean.
Yeah.
Um, I got to be truthful to you about that. I get that from my grandmother because if you would have known my grandmother, and get this, her name was Estelle Brown, like Estelle Brown of the
Wow.
Sweet and
Yeah.
Bacon. That
Wow.
was her name. That was my grandmother's name.
How about that? How
And
about that?
with her, there was two things you did not do. Number one, you did not walk in her kitchen while she was cooking. And two, you did not take a drink into her formal living room. Either you sat at her kitchen bar or you went outside if you were that thirsty. Not in a bad way, but it's just she kept that living room up so formal that she did not. She was like, she would say, "Don't take that into my living room or you'll stain my carpet."
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, "Okay, Mama, I won't." So
I
So
got
real
you.
quick, you had to act real quick. Either you sat at the bar or you went outside.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I love your connection to family. Let me ask you this question. You obviously, a little bit of a musical savant. You're a great vocalist. You play guitar like you do. I mean, a lot of people would say, man, you've got all this skill and talent and ability. Have you ever thought of getting out there and doing your own music?
I mean, I thought about it a few times, especially coming into nowadays. But honestly, I just had to be truthful, and I'm not trying to sound like Reverend Ike or nothing like that. But honestly, it's just whatever. It's just whatever the man upstairs tells me. Honestly, it's kind of like what Dean Z said when he was on the Ryan Files with you. He's got a way of telling us, okay, this is where I want you to stay right now. And but just whenever the time's right, if I feel like that he's moving me to do something on my own to where it's just me as myself, then he'll tell me, he'll be like, all right, here it is, because it's kind of like what the song goes, God already knew.
Yeah,
He'll be like, hey, I knew what was going to happen. So, but if it's meant for me to do that, then the man upstairs will let me know. I'll
yeah,
feel it here, and he'll let me know too. So,
that's awesome, man. I love, dude. I really enjoy getting to know you like this. I ask all the guys a question, and there's no wrong answer to it, man. But I do think it's funny because we've all been in some way, shape, or form. Elvis Presley has had an impact on our lives. We perform the music, we watch the videos, we all this stuff, and there. I think it's just a natural thing to suddenly feel like you might know this guy a little
yeah.
bit. Or at least understand him a little bit, just from the time and effort put into the performance. So I ask everyone, man, okay, you've got a time machine, Josh. All right. You got this time machine. It's hidden in the back corner of the Cisco warehouse. Only you know about it. You sneak back there one day and you have the ability to go back in time, whatever you want, for 1 hour to hang out and talk with Elvis. All right. What year would you go to? Any certain situation or anything? And then what would you talk to him about for 1 hour?
Oh my gosh. If I could go back in time and have a conversation with Elvis, I would actually go to 1969, his opening night in Vegas.
That's a good
You know,
one.
he's about to go on stage after 8 years of being away from the limelight. And if I could talk to Elvis, I would literally, if I could talk to him in that 1 hour about that, I'd be like, I would literally ask him, how are you, you know, what are you thinking right now? That you're about to walk out there, or be like, what songs you're gonna do, and if anything, I'd be like, how do you do it? How do you get over being nervous like that? Because anybody that remembers that night in Vegas, that opening night, he was scared to death.
Oh yeah.
If you remember it, he was pacing back and forth and constantly drinking water, and then he hears that Blue Suede Shoes theme come on, and he's walking out and looking at everybody. I mean, if I could, and even if I could walk to the stage with him before showtime, I'd be like, "What's going through your head right now?" I would literally ask him that, because who knows what was going through his mind,
Yeah.
that night.
Yeah. And I mean, I think too, the 68 comeback was a 68 comeback, but that was a televised thing. Um, you have multiple takes and all this and that and the other thing. This was like getting back to live performance. And there's a difference
Yeah, there's
between,
no cut and retake on that one.
yep. Yep. That would be an interesting moment in time to, he'd probably really appreciate you coming up, you or me coming up to him right before he goes on. Hey man, what's going through your head?
Right, exactly. He'd be like, "What?"
Listen, man, watch out, man. What do you think? What's your thoughts, Josh, on, you know, as awesome as Elvis was, the story of Elvis Presley is a tragedy.
It really
It is. And I know you said you're 32. I'm 52, almost 53. So right in between the two of us is 42, where he passed away. And you'll realize that if you don't now, 42 is way too young for anyone to die. Um,
absolutely.
would you talk to him at all about his life, his health, any of that?
Yes, absolutely. Because we know I have to agree with something that I have to agree what Bill Cherry said on a recent on one of them that you did, the one that you did with him. You know, you can't help but get emotional when you watch that CBS 1977, you know, knowing that that was the final appearance.
Yeah.
And it's just even when I look at it nowadays, I can't help but tear up and cry because he was just so, I mean, you could tell he was not well. He was not a well man, you know. And I think also a lot of it had to be emotional too, because, you know, at that point, you know, he's wishing he still had, you know, the relationship with Priscilla.
Yeah.
You could tell he really cared for Lisa Marie and, you know, and was really wishing that that never, you know, that the relationship didn't crumble. And it's kind of like what Bill said, you know, even though he was not feeling good, he could barely stand up, and really he could. I mean, you can tell on CC Rider if you watch it. You know, he's literally got the mic gripped with both hands.
Yeah.
But but of course, as Vernon says, he poured his heart out. His voice did not fail him that
Right.
night. And a lot of times I'm like, and this does go through my head a lot. Actually, I know it's hard to think that I think this way at 32 years old, but I gotta be honest, it does go through my head sometimes. What's going to happen to me when I turn 42? Am,
It's a real
I,
thing.
am I still going to be able to do this at 42, or what's it going to be like when I turn 50? But you know, I guess it's just I don't know. Honestly, I don't know what you went through when you turned 30, but since I've turned 30, I got to be honest. I don't know. You start thinking different. Your mind works different.
Oh
You
yeah.
you start looking at things more into a Now, don't think I'm nuts, but I don't want anybody to think I'm crazy when I say this, but you start getting more of an understanding in life. You start going, I'll put it this way, you start thinking before you talk.
Yeah. 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 Well, I think you just start growing up. I mean, in a way, like, maybe a little bit of wisdom. The 20s are the 20s. A lot of people in their 20s think that it's the best years of their life. And it's like, it's really not, man. You start getting into your 30s, and then the 40s are great too. It's all good, man. The only thing that really changes, your perspectives change, but also physically, especially doing this, you might start getting a little bit of arthritis and whatnot. But the bottom line is, when I was 20, I thought 52 years old would be like, old man. And I don't feel that way at all. Physically, I'm not the same as I was, but man, mentally, I wouldn't want to go back, 30s are awesome, dude. And you're like right smack dab in the middle of it because you still got all the physical attributes of being, in your 20s. But you are starting to get just that, first amount of wisdom and growing up and almost being able to better prioritize the things in life that really matter versus the things that don't matter. And I think you've got to step up on a lot of people just because of your upbringing.
I appreciate that. I mean, you do get more of an understanding, and and when a lot of times when like for example, if somebody says something that makes you mad when you're in your 20s, you want to automatically go ahead and pop back, but now that I'm older, because I used to be that way when I was a teenager. Well, we all went through, we all went through our rebellious teens, and all that. But now that I'm 30, and then when I got into my late 20s, and now that I'm in my 30s, I'm thinking, okay, let's really back up here and think.
Yeah.
The way I think is, will this help me, or will this hurt me on what I'm about to say here?
Yeah.
And then most of the time, you take the high road, and you're like, oh, okay, cool. And and because that's really how I think nowadays. I'm just like, you know what? And a lot of times you think, you know what? It's not really worth it. It's not worth my tears. It's not worth my time. So let's just keep moving forward. And a lot of times that's the best decision to make, actually.
Amen, brother.
I didn't
Amen.
I was just a preacher, but that's just really what happens with me nowadays. By the way, you and I can relate to something. Actually, you're actually gonna be shocked. Um, what year was it that you went out on your own when you went away and did your own stuff? What year was that?
It was 2007, 2008 ish. Yeah.
Okay.
Whenever I left Legends, and that led to about that long on the road. 2014 is whenever the Identical came out, but I mean,
I
we
remember
shot
that.
it. We shot it in 2012, and um, 2012. I think it was 2012. And then I was just, I was out on the road, had a bus, had a band, and we traveled everywhere. It was awesome. Young man's game, though, for sure. Young man's game. You got to be a special person to live on a bus like that and survive. But yeah, that was and what a learning experience that time was.
Right? Yeah. Well, you're going to be shocked. What the year you were shooting the Identical, like you said, you shot it in 2012, right? And it
I
came
believe
out
it was 12. Yeah.
well, 2014. People that are watching this are probably going to be shocked, but 2014, I left for a while, which is something you didn't know, but until now. But yeah, 2014, I kind of stepped away from Elvis, not to really go and pursue other things, but at that time, my priorities at yeah, I was in my 20s in 2014. I might have been 21 or 20. Yeah, I was 21 at that point. I kind of felt like at that point, my grandfather was basically on his own because, Mamaw had passed away. And of course, they were married for 64 years. And,
Wow.
but here's the thing, they met one day and they were married the next day.
Oh wow.
Literally, they literally met, went on a date, and then the next day they went and got married.
That's awesome.
Yeah, those two were married for 64 years. I mean, in my opinion, that's a long time.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And
He just knew not to go into the formal living room with a drink.
yep, he knew. Yeah, he did know that. Yes, exactly. I'll tell you this real quick, then I'll get back to what I was getting at. Um, and forgive me up there because I know they're up there looking down. I'll never get Memo told this story. Okay, now for the record, this is not inappropriate or nothing. You're just going to get a kick out of it. This was like a couple of years before she died. They were asleep, and Papal kicks her out of bed. I mean, he literally got her like right in the hip, and so of course, Mamo yelled and woke him up. She said, "Coy," that was his name. "Coy, why did you kick me?" And he went, "Huh?" She said, "You just kicked me." "Oh, honey, I'm sorry. I dreamt I was kicking a cow, and I guess I kicked you instead." He thought he had to kick a cow to move, but he didn't realize he was kicking his own wife. I was like, "Oh my gosh!" But yeah, at that point, I kind of felt like I was a stranger to my grandfather because, and what I mean by that is, it's not in a bad way, but I kind of felt like I wanted to get to know him more and kind of take care of him more. Because the only time he really saw me was is when I would be like up on stage. Now at first now I gotta be honest, he wasn't too fond at first when I was gonna go into Elvis, but after that he grew to love it. He actually grew to love it even more. I mean, I'll actually be up there and I would look over and he'd be sitting there. He always sat back in his chair like this the whole time. And then I looked over one night and he was cracking a smile and telling me how proud he was of me. And so I felt like I needed to take care of him at that point. So I literally gave it up for my grandfather. I literally left to spend more time with him, to get to know him more, and just to be there for him a lot more. And because I got to be honest, Garth Brooks said this one time. So yes, I am a Garth fan. So I'm still a Garth Brooks fan. But from 2007, when I started out, till till when I came here to Longview, where I live now, I got to be honest, Ryan. My life wasn't mine, if that makes sense. Um, but now my priorities have changed. Now that I'm 30, 32 now, and now, so when I came back to it, and at that point, that's when I married my first wife, and Jessica, who actually is still, we are still great friends. We may not be married anymore, but we're still connected as a family. We still we still do for each other. I mean, she was even helping me get this set up and everything to do this with you today. And I don't mean to get emotional when I talk about it, but um, one day she leaned over to me and she said, it was literally like this. She literally leaned over and said, "You're not done with this, are you?" I said, "No." She said, "I think I. You want to go back?" I'm like, "Do you think it could work again?" Because when you're coming back to something that you've been away from, who knows how long, you don't know. You don't kind of like Elvis. He didn't know if those fans were going to accept him or blow him off stage. He
Yeah.
didn't know. He was very scared to death. And then, and of course, God bless her. Since then, I haven't been unbooked since then. So that's why, by God's grace and everything, I stay busy with it all the time. But about 2017 is when it was after I saw you at South Fork that year, and that was also something else. I haven't told you this. I told you one time when we played that. What was that game we played at the Branson Elvis Festival? Like a Jeopardy game that we
Oh yeah.
played.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I told this before, but I didn't tell you the full story. So this is something that's coming out fresh on this show. When I saw you at South Fork, and I remember it was you, me, Jessica. This is before we was married. And Steve Lambeth and all of them. We were all down in the lobby of the host hotel, and and I have to be honest, Ryan. I couldn't see you. Like literally, I could not see you. You were a blur. You know. And at that time, I didn't realize what was going on with me. I remembered the lights were getting way too bright on me. And then it got to where I couldn't, at that time, I couldn't even walk I couldn't even walk from here across the street without Jessica being my side and leading me. And I didn't think nothing of it. I thought maybe I had had a cut in my eye or something, or if there was something that was stuck in there. I didn't know. And then when I was pulled over by the police, they thought I was drunk, but I got to be honest, I've never touched a lick of alcohol a day in my life. I still don't. Once in a while, I may have a beer once in a while, but I'm not going to drink it to where it's going to make me do. I'm not going to turn into Otis, the town drunk of Mayberry, But so finally, Jessica said, "Okay, you need to figure out what's going on. You need to figure out what's going on. You're going to the eye doctor." So I went to the eye doctor. He played with my eyes like they do, and he goes, "Well, the good thing is it's not your vision, but it's your cataracts, and they can be fixed." I went, "Really?" He said, "Yep, they can be fixed, so you are going to have the surgery." So at that point, when I saw you, Ryan, I was getting ready to have surgery on my eyes.
Wow.
I was getting ready to have cataract surgery, and of course, God bless these eye doctors with the technology they have nowadays. Because you got to admit, it could have been worse. They could have said, "There's nothing we can do," but they said, "Yes, we can." But then they not only diagnosed me with cataracts, but they also diagnosed me with forgive me, I can't say the word right, but I think it's called astigmatism. I think it's
That's
what's.
that's right.
And they said, "That's what you got." He says, "Cataracts cannot grow back, but we do need to put some. We need to have a backup plan to keep the cloudiness from coming back." So they gave me a choice, but here's the choice that we went with. He says, "Here's a new lens." And at that point, Ryan, at that point after you did South Fork, they had just come out with this new lens, where they said you can actually see from far away and you can see from up close. He says it's brand new. I've never put one in before. You're going to be the first. Literally behind my eyeballs. And if the light next time you and I are backstage together, I don't mean this bad, but if the light catches my eyes and if you look at me just right, you'll see my lens right here because that's where they're at. And sure enough, it's been a whole different world, and I'm very glad for that because it's just, I mean, the first thing I said because what they did was they did them one at a time, because they wanted to see how it was going to do. And the first time they took that patch off of me, I looked and went, "Does that how flowers look like?" Wait a
Wow.
minute, has it always been there? I mean, if Jessica was here right now, she would tell you. I was looking around going, "Hey, has that always been hanging on the wall there? Has that clock always been there?"
Wow.
And then of course they did the second one and they did tell me that at first I was going to feel kind of
Sure.
uh dizzy wise a little bit because one eye was so bad. It was literally so bad, Ryan, that the doctor literally said, I can't look through it. It's like trying to look through a carton of milk. It is so bad, I can't even look through it. So
Wow.
they did that first because one eye was doing all the work, for two eyes. Then they did my second one, and I apologize if I scare you when I say this, but the second surgery they did, of course, they put you out for like 15 minutes for that surgery.
Right.
I don't know. I don't know if it was the anesthesia. I don't know what made me say this, and I didn't even know it had come out of my mouth. But, I am a Superman fan because I grew up with Superman and Batman. So, do you remember the series called The New Adventures of Superman where Dean Cain, played
Oh
the
yeah.
role?
Oh yeah.
There's a scene in one of the seasons where I don't know exactly what the episode is, but it's where he's about to do something he's never done before, to where he's about to I don't know what it is. It's somewhere he generates himself through the glass to go save Lois,
Okay.
and Lois goes, "What if this kills you? What if this kills you?" And he turns around. He says, "Remember, I will always love you." When he's about to do it, somehow that came out of my mouth to at that time my fiance who I was about to marry, and my head literally went down and I went to sleep. Then all of a sudden they're like, I don't mean to scare nobody, but for a minute they thought that I died on the operating table because they're like, he's not waking up and he's supposed to wake up. I mean, they were literally trying to get me awake. One of them was literally on top of me going, shaking me, going, wake up. And Jessica was texting her mom going, he's not waking up. But
Hmm.
then the doctor went, just let it go. Tell you what, let's keep on with the surgery. Maybe he'll wake up. Well, then about 5 minutes, I woke up and I start talking about actually, I talked about Legends in Concert in Branson. I talked about your work.
Oh Lord.
And they're like, okay, Josh, can you hold on a minute? Because we got to do this one part and you can't be talking. Oh, okay. But yeah, God bless him because now since then I'm able to do a lot more things now that I got 20/25 vision in my eyes now. So
That's amazing, dude. That's an awesome story. You got to yeah, you're awesome, man. You got a great story, you got a great memory, great life. And I say this, man, I've seen you time and time again perform, and you're you're awesome.
thank
Um,
you.
and I love it. Your heart is coming from the right place too. It's pretty cool, man. Where do people find out more about you if they want to find out about you, contact you, if they want to come see a show, any of that?
Absolutely. Yeah, you can find me on Facebook, which is Josh Davis. The easy way to find me is my profile picture is literally me in the blue owl suit. Of course, I have that one now. It's being K, but you can find me on there. My Instagram is Josh Davis ETA. That's where you can find me too, and there's also the contact information on both pages to actually find me. So,
Awesome,
and
man.
see a show.
10 years from now, you'll be 42. You still going to be performing as Elvis?
Hey, if the man upstairs wants me to, then I will. I mean, I'll put it this way: I'll literally do it till the time comes to when I have to hang it up.
There you go.
Um, you know how I look at that?
How's that?
This is something that I was told. Well, actually, it was by my ex-wife Jessica, but the way I look at it, and this is my advice to anybody, whether it's these new young bucks coming up, which is amazing because they are the next generation. Um, the way I look at it is, I'll put it this way, Ryan. I treat every show, every day, every work day, even when I've done competitions. I know it's been a while, but I'll eventually get back to Branson. I promise you, best I can, depending on what goes on up here. But I treat every one of those like it's my final day, because honestly, we just never know.
Yeah.
That's really how I look at it. I treat every show, every concert, every competition, even my work day. I treat every day and everybody like it's my final day because, and even even with somebody in the audience, you never know. And I don't know if you've gone through this or not, but when you're standing up there, somebody in that audience may be going through something.
Oh, yeah.
There could be somebody that's their last final chance to see a tribute to Elvis, and you don't want to ruin it for him. But that's just really what my mindset is nowadays. And that's my advice to anybody is treat every day like it's your last. Treat every show like it's your final show. And treat every person like it's your last time to see them, because you never know. They could be taken away tomorrow.
Amen, man. And you know what? If everyone lived their life that way, I think it would be a better world. No doubt about it.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more with you on that. But yeah, you can find me on Facebook, Josh Davis, and then my Instagram is Josh Davis ETA.
Awesome, brother. Hey, I really enjoyed catching up with you, man. I wish you the best of luck. If you ever need anything, give me a shout, man. Okay.
Hey, same to you, buddy.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Josh Davis, you rock.
Thank you, guys. So you, Ryan.
Thanks for tuning in this week to the ETA Files. If you enjoyed this episode, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. And as always, be sure to hit that subscribe button and join the ETA Files community. And if you're looking for something a little different, be sure to stop by my podcast, The Ryan Files. Keep rocking, my friends, and I'll see you next week with another story from the Elvis Tribute Artist world. In the meantime, check out these video links below.